This is part 3 of Lessons from Jonah. I'm going to start by reading in Jonah chapter 1, verses 6 to 8. The captain went to him and said, "How can you sleep? Get up and call on your God. Maybe he will take notice of us so that we will not perish." Then the sailors said to each other, "Come, let us cast lots to find out who is responsible for this calamity." They cast lots, and the lot fell on Jonah. So they asked him, "Tell us, who is responsible for making all this trouble for us? What kind of work do you do? Where do you come from? What is your country? From what people are you?" So the captain woke Jonah up and asked him, "How can you sleep?" He also asked Jonah to call on his God. This is lesson number 1. There is a difference between gods. In this story and other places throughout the Bible, God is referred to with a little g. If it is a little g, that is the type of God that we create for ourselves. That is not the true God that created the earth and the universe and us. When God is described with a capital G, that is the God of the universe and the God that created us. In this story, when I said earlier that they were calling on their gods and they told Jonah to call on his God, they were using a small g. We can all have our own God without it being God, the God. Anything or anyone that is sitting on the throne of our lives is our God. A car, a house, a job, a person, which is including family members, can be our God. Anyone or anything that you make more of a priority than God himself, even yourself. So even we could be sitting on the throne of our lives, and even we could be our God with a little g. So back to the story. The sailors decided to cast lots to see who was responsible for the storm. Back then, casting lots was similar to rolling dice or drawing sticks to see who would be chosen. They felt this was God's way of choosing someone. The lot fell on Jonah. So they began to ask him all kinds of questions. I'm going to read verses 9 and 10. He answered, "I am a Hebrew, and I worship the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land." This terrified them, and they asked, "What have you done?" They knew he was running away from the Lord because he had already told them so. Lesson number 2 is just be honest and do it quickly. Be honest with yourself, God, and others. If you made a mistake, say it and move on. When we don't admit that we're wrong, we start to feel justified, we start making excuses, and we start acting like it's no big deal. If we continue down this path, we will lose sight of the fact that it was ever wrong. My encouraging scripture is going to come from James chapter 1, verses 23 to 25. Anyone who listens to the word but does not do what it says is like someone who looks at his face in a mirror and after looking at himself goes away and immediately forgets what he looks like. But whoever looks intently into the perfect law that gives freedom and continues in it, not forgetting what they have heard, but doing it, they will be blessed in what they do.